Hello everyone, Lionart here, and welcome to our Who is the Worst Killer to Verse Against while running No Mither. Now this is very important information, seeing that we were running No Mither for the entire month of November. So let's just jump right into it. We're going to start all the way at the top with some of the worst killers to face. If you can immediately see a trend, every single one of the ranged killers are on there. Anyone who has range damage, starting with my personal least favorite person to go up against while I'm playing is the Huntress right here. She is number one to me. She has a ranged attack. Good Huntresses will hold their hatchets until you're in a very compromised position. A lot of maps, at least 75% of them, have tiles and loops that are very unsafe against the Huntress. There are, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of tiles that the Huntress does pour into tall walls, medium walls, weird obstructions that like have invisible hitboxes and all that. But if you are out in the open near Jen and she happens to get close to you or know where you are and she is half decent with her hatchets, you will die. You will lose most of your games against Huntresses. They are very good. Usually people who play them are very competent in the first place. Again, she's very dangerous to go into as a No Mither. Generally dangerous to go into if you have a full health bar, not just one. Second, another very big counter to No Mither is a very decent nurse. This is because, first, if you're not playing it, if she finds you, you're more or less dead. If she sees you, you are more or less dead. This happens because she only needs to hit you once. You have no chance to hide, no chance to speed boost away from her, no chance generally to break line of sight. If she sees you once, you are generally, all she needs to do is blink on top of you, and unless you have dead hard, she can just secure a very easy down because you only have one health state. Very good nurses can blink right on top of you, and if you do dead hard the first one, they're just going to get you with the second series of blink. They're already extremely difficult to face against when you have full health states, even more so when you're handicapped with No Mither, and the fact that most killers will just pick you up immediately, so the increased speed of pickup doesn't really do anything. On the same note with the Deathslinger here, and we're just going to bundle in with the Trickster, having ranged attacks versus No Mither is extremely powerful. They're very much not fun to go up against when you're playing No Mither because of the fact that only needing the one hit, it makes it very easy for them to get to a distance where they can get that range damage off. Or with the Slinger, you get the reel. With the Trickster, you just need to stack a few knives on and you get the person on the ground. Last person here, Oni. The only reason I'm putting him all the way up here on the SS tier is specifically, and the reason he's the lowest of the SS tier here, I have them going from strongest to the left to the weakest to the right in that tier. The reason why I consider Oni weaker than the rest of them, but still extremely strong, and everyone knows why, is because you immediately start becoming his battery for the game. So whether if everyone's No Mither, whether you're the only No Mither into a bunch of full health survivors, it doesn't matter. Having an Oni who can get his charge quicker and for free, more or less, is a very dangerous Oni. Being able to dash, being able to break pallets with his power, being able to just get that power continuously. There are ways to avoid feeding him, but if you want to be an active participant in saving, looping, and getting generators done, you will most likely feed him like at least one or two full states of his power alone. So that alone brings him up to this, and it is a problem with No Mither in general that I'm very sad about. That as soon as I know exactly when I'm loading into an Oni game, because those blood orbs start dropping. Alright, so we're moving away from the most and when I see these killers in game, I expect to have a very, very tough time, and maybe like have a 25% chance of winning that game and getting out. Moving on to the next tier, still extremely strong. We're going to start all the way on the left side. You're going to start seeing a pattern within these tiers as well. So the Hag doesn't need too much explanation, but it's more of the fact that if you are not playing safe, if you are running around, if you end up getting caught by one of her traps and you have a half-decent Hag who can react quick enough to a trap being set off, she only needs the one to hit you and get it. Like, she doesn't need to do anything else but make you run into one trap, react to it quick enough, and she can just get you down. Like, that's all she needs. She doesn't need to hit you once that you run away and hope that you run into another trap later on. It's just one trap and you're done for, and that's all it takes versus the Hag to get a No Mither down. You just need one trap and you're just done, and that's why the Hag is very high up on here. She is if you are not actively, even if you're actively avoiding your traps and doing everything, it is still very difficult to play a game aggressively and safely into a hag. The next two killers here, Ghostface, Bing Bong Boy. Bar having Spine Chill, you do not want to run into these guys when you're getting into a game. They can be looped just fine, but normally the big thing that they have when they get into why they can be looped is that they can get their ambush hit off easily, right? They can get their one hit off from stealth, and then they have to chase you, and that's when you can loop. This doesn't work for a No Mither. If they get that ambush hit off, you're dead. You're on the ground. You don't go anywhere past that. There's nothing for you to do past getting ambushed by these two guys. So Ghostface can move around at very quick speed. That's why he's up here, and I'll just go past right by the Blight for a second to talk about the Pig on A tier, and that's exactly why. They have there's the fact that the crouching speed is much slower than a full speed moving standing Ghostface, and then with the Wraith you have the incredible movement speed while stealth, but you do give away your position, unlike Ghostface, when you come out of your stealth with the Bing Bong, so that does give you time to react, which puts him just a step lower than Ghostface here. The Blight, he is generally just an extremely strong killer. He'd be in an S rank position, even if you were in a full health state. So it just makes him he can still be looped and everything if you can play against him right, but he is still just as tough as he would be if you had two health states, and you need to be very clean with your loops and use all your defensive measures that you can, but he's very self-explanatory. He can rush at you and just get one hit. He doesn't need to get into a secondary chase if he gets you with the one like from across the map pinball movement there. All right, so now we're moving down to A tier. So if SS was like 25%, I would say S tier is like a 40% increase, and then A tier is like we're getting to the point like 50% plus winning games against these killers. Pig, we just talked about. She has a good stealth. It helps her. Again, you only need the one hit, so if you get close enough and don't use her power, the only drawback is, again, she moves very slowly. So on big maps, her stealth is almost not usable, and that's most maps are too big for her to just be crouching all the time. Indoor maps, very useful for her, very helpful. But if we're looking at the game wholesale, most games are too big for her to just stealth everywhere and never be standing at any point, so that would just be unreasonable. After that, I have the Spirit. So the reason why I have the Pig above the Spirit again is because of her stealth, and you just need the one ambush hit. With the new Spirit, it's very easy to tell when she's coming after you or heading towards you. This becomes very easy for you to not like get away, but like start to loop. So if you can start getting to a loop or a defensive position against the Spirit, she's still very fast, she still has all her power, she still has her anti-loop, she still has all these great things that help her in chase, but she is not stealth. You can get away, you have a chance, you have at least a chance, and that's why she's a little bit like a better chance. That's why she is lower than the Pig there. Demigorgon, okay, so Demigorgon is kind of mid-pack in the A tier right here. This is, I really like going up against Demigorgons, and seeing some really good Demigorgons have shaped me or have made me realize that he's a lot stronger against certain loops than not. So he really does close down a lot of teeny tiny loops that you have to like maximize as a No Mither. He breaks pallets very quickly with this power. He gets a lot of distance. He makes a lot of vault points very unsafe. He makes a lot of loops very unsafe. And normally when killers are the ones where you tank one hit, run away, and get to a better position, you can't do that. The Demigorgon is going to be in a position where he'll get an opportunity to get a really nice lunge off on you. And that actually kind of goes with the next two killers here. We have Pyramid Head and Nemesis. Pyramid Head only has a ranged attack, which is a little slow and is a moderately easy to dodge. Not the easiest thing to dodge, but he can be looped. His ranged attacks can be dodged. They're far slower than the ranged attacks up here. He can't use it like at anything but a loop, where the Huntress, Deathslinger, Trickster can all use their ranged attacks very far away from loops and still be very, very deadly. And the same thing with Nemesis, where his power works is very good in loops. So all of these guys do really well to counter the No Mither running around the palette, including the Spirit here. Really all four of them in the A tier. That's why they're here in the first place. Nemesis can break through them, Pyramid Head can go over them, break through them, mind game around them with the speed that no one can actually see where she is, they can only assume. And that's why A tier, that's why they're all A tier. Moving on from Nemesis, we're going down to Charlotte right here. So we got the twins. Immediately why they're top of the pack B, usually I would like keep them, they were lower when I originally had this tier list planned out, but when I gave it more thought, Charlotte can use Victor very well as an anti-loop. So if Charlotte is brought to a loop that is not very fun for her and she doesn't want to chase for the mouse one, all she needs to do is deploy Victor, and she's not going to slug you when she's right next to you. So she's going to deploy Victor, get you down, and then just pick you up while you're at that loop at the 1 health state. So instead of where at first I was like, oh, she'll take Victor, he'll run him around to just slug everyone. They don't have to do that. They don't need to slug everyone. And when they realize as a No Mither, they're gonna go force the No Mither out the loop, force the Victor out, and then just get them down at the loop, break the pallet, or whatever, get them down, pick them up, they're dead. So she can still use Victor extremely well because of the fact that the No Mither is at a singular health state, and he does a really good job at downing a whole bunch of people. Afterwards, we have the Doctor. So the Doctor, so I don't want to wholesale the rest of them in this, in the B tier here, but we'll do like a speed round. You're looping the Doctor, nothing changes when you go up against the Doctor. That's what it is. The reason why they're in B tier here is because their loop and their gameplay are no different when you're playing against them as a full health state person and an injured permanently with the No Mither. So Doctor loop, the Cenobite loop, or Pinhead, whatever you want to describe them. Freddy looping, Trapper looping, and the Clown looping. Actually, I'm going to move the Trapper down here and I'll explain in a moment. But they're all their looping and everything else doesn't matter if you're injured or full health. They still have to get you the same way. They still like bar some special add-ons like hurting add-ons with him, insta kill bottles with the Clown, yada yada. You need to loop them. You still play against them the same exact way. No Mither, or with No Mither, or without No Mither. So that is exactly why they're middle in the pack right here, and that's perfectly fine because it really just helps you. You just have that one life. You don't have the second chances. No second chances when you're No Mither with the hit. So you just gotta loop perfectly and make sure that these guys don't catch you and play against their individual looping, or their anti-loop as it were, the best you can. Now the reason why the Trapper, I moved the Trapper down right here. This is because of the fact that a lot of people, I don't always run dead hard, but a lot of people that play with No Mither generally run dead hard, and I think that's perfectly fine because it's one of the best perks to run with No Mither. You're in an injured state constantly, you can use your dead hard at any point. It's kind of like a get out of jail free card, but you don't need to like be near a loop, you don't need to be near a pallet, you don't need to just like walk so you hold your sprint burst. You use the dead hard to get over Trapper traps. If there's one-way hallways that unless he has a certain brown add-on that allows him to walk over and like unset his traps, you can get over certain areas and get through certain areas that would count, that more or less make it safe. You kind of extend your loop because you can dead hard over traps. And normally traps are placed in thin hall, or can be placed in thin hallways over things. Or on pallet loops. You want to be able to dead hard over it. And having that ability knocks him down to the last place of B. But still, his looping, his anti-loop, you still play against him. Normally, you just have the ability to get over his traps without having to. A problem with full health players that even if they have dead hard, but there's a trap in their way, they can't dead hard over the trap, and then, well, they're just stuck in the trap and dead, and they don't even have a chance to use dead hard or have any extension to their chase. Moving down to C tier, you can see a lot of these are you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense why they're so far down here. So Bubba and Chase is still kind of normal. This counters any slugging playstyle, any more or less face camping, multi-down playstyles. You stop the insta-down, you stop him from wanting to use his insta-down. He's only going to use his chainsaw to break pallets. And you just have to watch out, and this is the same thing. This goes very similar with Billy, where you're not going to be... He'll use the chainsaw mostly to break pallets and almost feel disincentivized to use his chainsaw on No Mither survivors. Very good billies will use their chainsaw no matter what, because they realize like crazy turning radius, or just like they can get the down quicker than if they just chased and got them out one, and they're very accurate with it. So we're actually gonna put Billy up just a little higher than Bubba, because Bubba has very limited speed increase once he starts using his chainsaw. But again, anything that is countering, that is making an insta-kill killer, or insta-down killer, I apologize, a killer with an insta-down, not use their insta-down, only using it to break pallets. If they're not using it or don't have an incentive to use it, that's what is knocking them down, on my personal opinion with this tier list. I've seen in many chases that I go into with Billy or Leatherface, where they will just chase for the mouse one and they will never use their chainsaw, which will allow me to get certain pallets played that they'll normally play aggressively with the chainsaw on, because you don't want to go down. So I notice a lot of Billy players, a lot of Leatherface players are play markedly different against a injured survivor compared to a full health survivor, is my point. Myers is down here pretty low because he's essentially building his power for no reason, unless he has Tombstone or either one of the Tombstones. It will not matter to you. It takes him a while. He's slow in the beginning. He has to build up to even get the normal killer speed and normal killer lunge, and then if he wants to even use his power even more, it's useless on you. He has no reason that he can build off of you and go insta kill other survivors, but you will never be threatened more than you already are from his tier 2. So it takes him, he's already slow to build up to tier 2, so he's already very easy to get away from. And then when he is tier 2, he doesn't want to get tier 3 or use a tier 3 on you, and that will stop him from having an increased lunge and increased or just the increased lunge. You don't get increased speed. I think it's also vault speed you get when you're in tier 3 Myers. But again, anything that makes it so that his building, the time it takes for him to get tier 3 does nothing. This is just personally versus you. It might just equally hurt your teammate just as much if you get fed off of and he gets tier 3, he's like 99% to tier 3, and then he pops it on someone else who's a full health character. Yeah, that's gonna hurt. But again, this is versus the No Mither. He gets nothing but wasting his time trying to stalk you to build up his power, his normal power, which is very, very important. After that, we have the Legion. Legion, used to be like the old Legion would have been really good against the No Mither, but now the way Legion works, you're more or less just wasting your time against the No Mither when you're going to hit them with your power. If you hit them with your power and you leave them, you're only wasting a few seconds of their time. However much time it takes to mend is all that you've wasted. The No Mither is never going to need a heal again, so you're not going to get like I'm going to make them mend and then I'm going to make them, go for a full heal after that, and I'm running mangled, so it's going to take them a really long time. No, the No Mither just mends and they're back the full capacity. They're go after that. They take the 10 seconds to mend and they're already ready to go. So the only time you really have to use your power, the best time I've seen Legions go into No Mither is that they don't use their power to ever hit the No Mither, is that they use their power to hit everyone who's not No Mither, run to the No Mither, break their power, and then just get into a normal chase, and then use the time they bought with all the full health survivors mending and going to full health. That would be I personally think that's the best strategy I've ever seen used against No Mither, but most of the time it just ends up being a hit and run. You get smacked, you go into a mend phase, and bam, you mend, you're done. You get back on that generator, you go help someone else, you do whatever. It is but a minor nuisance to go up against most Legions, especially with how they kind of combo their power, which is always really good. You always want to bounce, you always want to try to get the entire team injured or mending. It just is a huge time waste for their team, and it gets everyone in an injured state generally if they were full health. But yeah, that's why Legions pretty down in the dumps right here. I would say, if we're going back to percentages, where B is like 50, I should say A is 50% plus, we got B at like winning about 60% of games against them with while running No Mither. C is like 75% of games. D is probably just around that as well. They're just these are very close to like 3 out of 4 games, I will win or escape or get like the equivalent of winning, whether I'm double pipping or like 32k points. And here at the end we have the Plague in her own special category. This is because she forces all normal health survivors to have the No Mither with us. Actually, in our heart, she is SS, the top of the SS. And that's it. That's my choice. She's number 1. Thank you everyone who made it this far into the video. This is the first video of this type I've ever made. Let me know if you've enjoyed it. I really had a lot of fun making this tier list for the No Mither. Please like, comment, and share if you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!